clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Yo,
what's up? How you doing?
I was just watching back that the little video that Rod did. Do you notice that he put swag that pops up right on your scooter? It's fucking hilarious. It's like a 1 second little thing. It's like in neon right above the scooter. It says swag.
Yeah, it's funny. The little Easter eggs in the captions there, the quick captions. If you slow them down, it's pretty hilarious too.
So
if anybody hasn't done that yet, give it a view and pause it and check it out. Anyway, we're gonna get started here. We're just gonna go right into it. We want to say thank you guys, everybody that's been listening and tagging us on social media and Facebook and Instagram. We appreciate it. We're a little sad this week. It's been a couple weeks and we haven't got any new YOLO line messages. So we want to encourage people to leave us a voicemail on the YOLO line, 562-246-YOLO. You can leave us a voicemail, a rant, a question, a drunk dial, whatever you might, need to do. You can go ahead and do it. Again, we're going to ask everybody to please rate and review and subscribe to the podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please download and rate and review. And if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit us with a like and a comment. We appreciate it all. We're going to get right into it. We've got a great guest this week for you guys. I'm just going to do a little introduction and then we'll bring him in. He was voted Des Moines' best DJ. He was the touring DJ for Hot Import Nights. He was the first winner of the Red Bull Freestyle Live Remix competition in 2019. He has produced original music and had official remixes chart on Billboard. He's an official Pioneer product demonstrator. He has 40,000 YouTube subscribers and 5 million views on his channel. He's a songwriter, composer, remixer, and producer, and he's not even a DJ. Please help us welcome pre-owned Joni.
How you guys doing? By the way, I love that opening jingle. Like it was giving me that 90s sitcom vibe. So
that's great. That's exactly the vibe we were going for.
Who wrote that? If I could ask.
Phrase.
Okay.
DJ Phrase. Yeah, he did the whole thing start to finish.
Is that his vocals in there?
That's his vocals. He did all of that. And the only thing we gave him was I told him I gave him a bunch of song ideas, but the one that I kept sending him over and over was Everything Is Awesome from the Lego movie, because I wanted it to just be that song that gets caught in your ear you can't stop listening to. And
yeah, it's still in my head right now.
Yeah, that's the idea. And then all the videos and the pictures, basically, one of Fuse's buddies, what's his Instagram? Give him a shout.
Twin Spires Photography.
He just he's like, hey, I'm getting a Beastie Boys 90s Beastie Boys vibe. And we said, you're sold. And then our other buddy Rod, he just cut it together. So yeah, a lot of magic in there, a lot of homies helping out. It came together amazing.
That's so awesome.
Thanks. We're gonna do something a little different this week. We're gonna get started with a little rapid fire questions just to get things moving right away. So PJ, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna ask you some questions and just one word answers. Whatever comes to the top of your head, So what year did you start DJing?
It's either 93 or 94, but like that's when I took the interest.
Yeah.
Not saying that I was gigging at 11 years old. But, yeah.
No, it's all good.
Right.
Tea or coffee?
I prefer tea, but I drink more coffee.
All right. Favorite band or artist?
I have a top 3.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, John Williams, number 1. Number 2 is Hans Zimmer, and number 3 is Brian Tyler. They're all 3 are composers. Yep.
All right, turntables or CDJs?
I'm definitely a CDJ guy between the two.
I figured you might say that one.
Mhm.
If you're DJing or playing out, favorite song to get the crowd hyped to.
I don't have one.
You're not
I,
gonna play
I
like,
really don't have one because I like it depends on the moment, and I'm kind of in a switch from not playing open format anymore, so that like the rules are different now. So
gotcha. That makes sense.
yeah.
Who is your favorite DJ?
That's another thing. I don't actually have one. I have favorite things DJs do. For example, with Jazzy Jeff, it would be the Peter Piper routine. With certain artists, it's their productions. Like I like what Armin van Buren did with his label, A State of Trance, and it's like James Zabilia. I like that he brings turntablistic techniques into techno, and it's weird. I like elements of DJs, but I don't have a favorite DJ. Even though Brian Tyler himself is a DJ and producer as well as a composer, like even though he's in my top 3 artists, he's not somebody I would say is my favorite DJ. I think I look at DJing like there's elements to borrow from each one, and I favor them for those specific things.
No, that's cool. So
I actually totally agree with that statement. I feel that I don't really have a favorite, but you know, like say this, I just got back from the DJ Collective, and there was a bunch of different DJs, and each one of them has stuff that the other one doesn't really do, and I loved that about it, and I like to take it and just mix it into my own style. So I like that answer.
So I'm gonna guess the favorite producer question might be answered the same way.
Yeah, I would say so, but I think with production, I might lean towards Brian Tyler,
Okay.
only because he's the guy that combines what makes me love music, which is what two composers did, John Williams and Hans Zimmer, but he's aware of creating electronic music for a festival because he plays at a festival. It's the craziest thing. He'll be like composing for a Marvel movie 1 minute, and then he'll be rocking a festival the next. So it's I could probably put him in that category. So
Alcohol, yes or no? Do you drink alcohol?
yes.
Okay.
I know I have to think. It's like sometimes.
What's your go-to alcoholic drink?
Hennessy.
All right. Do you prefer day drinking or night drinking?
Night drinking, day drinking. Sunshine and drinking is weird for me.
No, it's great because everybody's so different. Some people are like, "Oh my god, day drinking," and then do you have a favorite concert you've seen? Just one that you could think off the top of your head.
I think the most inspirational concert I've ever been to was it was called the WDRQ Beach Ball, and this was back in '96. And it was like 5 different dance music artists. It was like Jocelyn Enriquez, LaBouche, Quad City DJs. And mind you, this was back in '96. Robin S., Crush. And I think that was my first time being exposed to live electronic music acts. And to be honest, I didn't even think about this when LaBouche played, and we know them as like a Euro dance artist of the '90s. They played with a live band, which I think was a seed that was planted in my head to include live instruments in my set. So,
And all those bands kind of still play together, right?
yeah, they're like studio session bands that play live, that tour. I forgot the name of this drummer, but there was the one drummer that is a big Roland artist, and he used to tour for Milk Inc. at one point. So yeah, a lot of those artists are like they're not like famously known, but they're known in the industry and are used a lot by a lot of major productions.
Do you prefer pizza or burgers?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's a tie.
All right, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
All right. And the biggest tip you've ever gotten while DJing, like money wise?
$100 for playing Notorious B.I.G.
That's one I'd take all day.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty much the end of our rapid question. Except for I'm going to add one more, knowing that you enjoy these. Your favorite Star Wars movie? And if you guys didn't know, pre-owned Joni is not somebody you want to cross in a lightsaber battle.
Yeah. Shoot.
It could
I would
be
have to
the
say,
the side
honestly,
movies too.
it's definitely the original trilogy, and I think I just like that whole saga. If I had to pick one, it would definitely be Episode 4, the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope, the one that started it all.
I love the originals too. I love Star Wars. I will say like I'm like a huge fan, but I do enjoy them all very much. And Empire Strikes Back is my favorite one, followed by Rogue One. That was my that was my next favorite one.
I think I was too young to appreciate Empire Strikes Back the way everyone does, because everyone speaks about it in terms as being the best one out of the trilogy. But I don't know, maybe because I already, like, from what I remember, I don't remember my reaction when I found out, Vader. Spoiler alert: Vader is Luke's father. So I don't think I captured that. I don't think I captured that moment because I was so young when I saw it. So like now I live vicariously. It's like when I watch kids watching Star Wars for the first time, or when my fiance, when she watched Empire Strikes Back for the first time, I was like, I need to pay attention. What's this like? Because I don't know what this is like.
No, for me, it was like, I'm not your typical movie person that like loves the happy endings and like likes everything to just work out. I love when a show like will do the opposite and be like, all right, the bad guy just won, or like it's more realistic. So for me, it was so like dark and just like kind of like you didn't know what was kind of like happening and where it was going to go. And I love that. And I kind of got that with Rogue One too.
I actually would say I liked Empire Strike Back better too, because growing up, my parents owned a video store, and
nice.
we got an early copy of that, and that was actually my first. Was probably one of the first ones I saw. Was that at least I remember? I remember that before I remember the original, but I think they're all good. I just like the universe. If we're getting really nerdy about it.
Yeah. It's a whole culture. Like there's YouTubers out there that 100% make their living off just being a fan.
Yeah.
Like my favorite one is his name is Star Wars Theory, and he started off only 4 years ago on his channel, and all he did was like, hey, he did what if scenarios with Star Wars. Like what if this, or before Marvel was doing the What If series on Disney Plus, he was just doing these little scenarios that he would like talk about. And now he's the biggest non-Disney Star Wars channel on YouTube.
That's crazy.
He started out right when basically the new trilogy was coming on.
Yep.
Or kind of
It was like midway, like in the middle of that. I think that's what inspired him. And he was the one that did that recent Darth Vader fan film that was
oh my god, it was
really
so good.
Yeah. And he used the same cameras as they did in Rogue One. So he went all out. He even showed how much he spent. I think he spent like I don't want to misquote it, but it was quite a bit of money of his own personal money, because he's not allowed to crowdfund for it.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you like the last like of the saga, the episode 9? Were you a fan or?
So, The Last Jedi was disappointing for me. It was the first one. It was the first Star Wars movie to put me to sleep. I mean, I came out. I watched it in New Orleans, so I came from a flight, so I might be tired. But it was a really dragged movie, and I know people didn't like The Last Jedi. That was negatively received. But when The Rise of Skywalker came, that was also negatively received. But I don't think they could have done any. There's small things they could have done better, but I think the story was like was destroyed by then. So with that in my mind, it was at least fun enough to be like, okay, I could at least accept this, But I think the whole sequel was mismanaged as far as storytelling goes because there was no plan, and it really showed with when Ryan Johnson took a lot of liberties with things that were set in the movie before. Like, for example, he killed Snoke, didn't use any of the Knights of Ren when
Right.
they're supposed to be more important in this one. So he tried to be too creative. Well, I don't want to say too creative, but it he tried to steer it a little hard left just to be for the sake of being different, you know?
Yeah. Have you? I have loved the Mandalorian. Do you feel the
Oh
same?
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. I feel like they're like rescuing Star Wars from the prequels. I mean, from the sequels.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Jon Favreau too. Everything he does anymore, I'm like just a huge fan. I loved his movie Chef. I thought that was just great. A great movie.
He directed Iron Man.
Yeah,
I know. Seriously.
yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, now that hopefully everybody that doesn't watch Star Wars has made it through this portion, we'll get back to some DJ stuff. So with not even being a DJ, so what came first? Were you in a band? Were you DJing? Were you remixing?
Okay.
What was the start?
So I don't think I shared this on my channel directly. I probably talked about it in bits and pieces, but I'll tell you guys. This is the first time I'm going to talk about it openly. And I remember I got a lot of I got a lot of criticisms the day I started saying I'm not a DJ. Shout out to my friend Alex Nepa. He was probably one of my friends who was like, "Hey, people aren't going to get that," and I totally understand this point. The reason why this came about was because I think 11 years ago, I was playing at a music festival, and I was playing on CDs back then. And I'm not going to say who the artist was, but one of the headliners for that music festival was at the after party I was playing at. And he took a picture. And mind you, he's a big celebrity DJ. Not going to say any names. Took a picture of my CD book because it fell and the CDs fell out. Tweeted it and said, "What a shitty setup." And then went to my friend's gig, took a picture of his turntables, and goes, "This is a real setup." And like the thing about it is the same guy didn't play that night and at the festival because another DMC champion was playing before him and decided he didn't want to, and the excuse was in a festival where everybody brings their gear, they couldn't find a Serato box. Like that was his reason. There was no interface, so I'm like, we had two on our stage and they weren't being used anyways. But when that started, I was still receptive to like the things people would say would still affect me. And one of the things that I decided at that time was I don't want to be that guy who's judging people for their gear, And I decided that why am I trying to impress other DJs? Why am I trying to be a DJ? Why am I trying to fit in with the DJ hood when if this is an art, I'm doing this because it makes me happy. So whether somebody says, because for the longest time when I started working on CDJs, they're like, "You're not a real DJ. You're not using turntables anymore. Real DJs use turntables." I had that prior to that festival incident, but that festival thing kind of made me rethink. It was like, hey, why am I always trying to impress other DJs? Why don't I just do this for myself? Let's just be an artist and not be, not try to fit into a predetermined name, So instead of trying to be a DJ, I embraced the whole he's not a real DJ and turned it into my own identity. So I basically took something that was kind of negative and made me feel like icky, and I was like, this is gonna be my thing.
And for all of the DJs that don't know, he is a real DJ. This guy, I've seen him cut on a controller using just the pitch slider, and it sounds better than most DJs that I know. So yes, you are a talent, and I guess I would be thrown off by that. But knowing you, I know you are a DJ, so I like the sarcasm behind it.
Yeah, I like it too. And my other favorite thing is the way he tests a piece of gear is can he do the Peter Piper routine on it or not? If he can do the Peter Piper routine, it's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty impressive. He does it so like all these different videos where you're doing that on these different controllers and stuff. It's pretty impressive. I mean,
I've tried to tame down doing the Peter Piper routine on every piece of gear because I know it's going to get redundant. So I kind of I space them out. It's like one Peter Piper routine a year. Yeah.
No, that's cool. So you've been DJing for then how long now? Would you say that you've actually been a professional DJ, like a working DJ?
That's also hard to quantify because I was doing mobile gigs with my dad as young as I was like 11, going with him. I didn't get my first set of turntables till I was 14 or 15, and they were like Gemini, and I got into turntablism then. So that would be between 93 and 96.
Okay.
Maybe 97. Wow. Yeah.
Been DJing through a lot, seen a lot of different trends come and go too.
Yeah. So it's like there was a time where I only spun on vinyl. Like I used to go to the record stores back then, and it was expensive as a teenager,
Oh yeah. Saving your lunch money for all those records, for sure.
Do you have like a most memorable gig? It could even be, like you said, you got started with your dad. It could be something, anything that you remember, like that just for some reason you remember it and it's helped you like your career advance in a certain way that if it weren't for that gig, I guess it could be just the story you just told too. With the he's not even a DJ like that.
Oh yeah, I guess that one because I don't think about that time that much, but when I maybe 3 years ago I probably wouldn't even be able to point that out right away, but that was memorable in that story because it was embracing a criticism of you and turning it into a strength, but it's also I think the following year when I got to play main stage at that same festival, that was really fun because like it kind of set my mind to thinking about I'm not just doing this just for money. And to be honest, I think I've made a lot of decisions throughout the years where it's not about the money. I really just enjoy making music and playing music and adding things to my craft that normally doesn't fit in the regular mold of DJing. So, and I'm very I would say like I'm motivated by my being intrigued by the art form.
I want to say that's kind of something that's coming back to me a lot more recently. Is it's not about the money. We got into this whole thing really as a hobby, right? You're talking about buying vinyl as a high school kid, and that's why we all got into it, is because we just liked music. It wasn't ever about the money, and bringing it back to that is, I think will in turn bring money. If that's how we started making money in the first place, really, right? I'm curious, you still have a lot of that vinyl from back in the days?
When I moved to Des Moines, because I'm originally from Detroit, I gave it all away to my friend because I didn't have room for it. So the only vinyl collection I have now is Record Box Timecode vinyl, Serato Timecode vinyl, a couple Super Seal Breakbeat scratch records, and a pair of Super Ducks, which I haven't even opened.
So what made you make the jump then to, I mean, to using CDJs, or maybe that little transition into when you got CDJs, and it really started taking over for you. What CDJ was it?
The first one was actually the
Yeah,
CDJ 700, and the reason is because you get when you burn your own music, you can play your own music, and as a teenager, you can't really. It's not financially feasible to get music you make pressed on vinyl.
right.
So if I wanted to play my own music during the time, I had to burn it on CD. And once the CDJ 1000 came out, I was like, wow, I can scratch my own production on top of that.
Right.
And that's kind of what motivated me that way. And the thing about like scratching on CDJs was some people have told me that they had a hard time learning because between the jog wheel and the 12-inch platter, it's really different. I somehow bonded with it like day one. My first gig with it with the CDJ 800 was the first time I was using a CDJ 800, and I just kind of never turned back since. I kind of combined the turntables in there, but I got along with the jog wheel pretty quickly.
It makes sense for me. I had, when I was gigging around that same time, I was bringing CDs and turntables, just, what you could afford on vinyl, or I would buy at garage sales and then mixed in with exactly stuff that you like. So I'm
Yeah.
curious then, you're talking about your own production and all that stuff. Were you already like making beats? Were you going to school for that? What exactly production do you mean? Is something I guess I'm curious about.
So my dad's a musician as well, and he got sold on getting a Roland VS 1680. The basic the multi-track recorder with a hard drive in it. DAW. Well, it is the DAW, and a pair of Mackie HR824 monitors. Those THX 6-inch monitors, and he had a bunch of MIDI devices like workstations, Roland workstations. So I used to just mess around in the basement with this stuff and making my own music through multi-tracking and stuff. So I just wanted to be able to make my own remix and play it live, and it wasn't the best stuff, to be honest. Like if I hear any of it today, I'd probably cringe,
Of course.
So but I just like the idea because there was something about it where I was like, wow, it's different to play your own music than to play everybody else's music. And Mixmaster Mike said this recently where he said you can only go so far playing other people's music. And I also read Eric Murillo say this, that the shortcut to success as a DJ is to make your own music. And I think that was back in 2007 in Club Systems International where he said that. The magazine.
I tell up and coming DJs that all the time. There's like, how do I get bigger? Like, start making your own stuff. This is really, that's, how I would say me and Fuse both got a little bit of a jump, is just doing, basic edits. And that kind of helped boost our career. And that's not even really making our own stuff, but just helping, just doing anything custom and understanding it more, 100%. So I want to ask one more question. Like, when did this start evolving into, from the music aspect into, playing guitar and adding all this extra stuff? Was this in the timeline? How does that kind of transition?
I think, okay, so as a kid, you grow up with Asian parents that are very strict, So, my dad really made me.
Wait, I was just at a conference, and the thing that broke the room was they said, "I'll give that an Asian B plus, which is a I'll give that a B plus, which is an Asian F." And I was like, the whole room lost it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was funny.
It's true though. It's so funny because my parents aren't as. My parents are more tolerant and open-minded. Like now that they're older, like when I was going to college, it was out of the question to even entertain the idea of going to school for sound engineering, even though it kept showing up on my evaluation as top of the list. And today, my two youngest brothers who are in college, one's taking photography, the other's taking film. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, you guys really changed, mom and dad. But
The
yeah,
first kid always gets it the most strict too, though.
yeah, I'm the. I'm definitely because I'm the only one who didn't finish college out of my, well, the other two haven't finished college yet, but my sister's a doctor at Yale. My brother is an IT for Delta Dental for their office in Bay Area. So I'm I'm the loser. Yeah.
I don't know. It's all in the eye of the beholder. I know, but yeah.
True, very much true.
Wait. So they were strict, and then what happened?
So like, you know, you probably heard like when Asian parents make their kids play piano or violin. Mine was the guitar. And the reason why I was like drawn to DJing during that time at that young age was because it's something that my dad has no say in. Like I said, he's a musician. He knows nothing about it, and like, well, he doesn't know as much about it because he wasn't into it, even though he was a DJ himself. The thing is the guitar was something that he had authority on, while DJing was something new and fresh and something where I can identify with. So I wanted to get away from the guitar and get onto DJing. So it was like DJing was kind of my rebellion escape. And there was a mutual benefit to it because playing guitar, I'm left-handed and I play right-handed guitar. And so that means left hand on the fingerboard. And I also scratch left hand on the crossfader, so that guitar playing helped my fingers with learning how to work the crossfader over time. But I was, for the longest time, I didn't want anything to do with guitar. I didn't want to touch guitar. I'm like, no, I want to do this cool thing called DJing. And then I think in the last maybe 7 years, I was just noodling away with some songs. I'm like, oh, I could play guitar over these songs that I spin, you know, these electronic music songs, and a lot of the melodic ones. And I think I was inspired by Armin van Buuren bringing his brother Eller van Buuren to play electric guitar during certain songs of his set, and that was one of the things that started like making me think. I'm like, huh, maybe maybe this will be unique. Maybe this will be different. So 2017, I bought a Les Paul and started experimenting, improvising over songs live during a set.
I love that because I'm forcing my daughter to take piano and she hates it more than anything. So it is interesting that down the road you ended up picking it up.
Yeah.
And does your dad like that now that you kind of at least incorporate those two things?
Oh yeah, my dad loves it. He I see him sharing it on Facebook all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I love
cool.
that.
So we're gonna kind of jump forward a little bit with the YouTube success and everything. When did you start when did you get the idea to start doing the YouTube stuff, and kind of how did that come to fruition of like what it is now even?
Okay, one of the feelings I had back in 2017 was that DJs don't like to I don't want to generalize all DJs, but there was a hunch that I put a bet on where if a video is a DJ doing something really good, other DJs don't support it. But if there's a video of a DJ failing, all the DJs will be watching it, because there was that one channel called Angry DJs, you know, that would just put up all DJ fails. And for some reason, I always feel like on the internet, people want to see people fail. So I put a bet on that with the first time I did the Peter Piper routine. I made the title "Fake DJ Attempts Peter Piper Routine on Toy Controller," and that video started my current YouTube channel, because that video got shared so much and I think like, I'm not gonna lie, it was clickbait. It was a bait and switch, you know.
Right.
So
And I'm sorry, I have actually not watched it. Did you like just crush that video or?
oh no, it's still up. Recently,
No, I'm sorry. Did you actually do really good on the video, or were you messing up on purpose?
Oh no, I wasn't messing up. I was honestly doing the Peter Piper routine on
Oh,
DDJ
okay.
SB2. So,
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. That's amazing.
but it's funny because some people, there are people that you just can't, you can't change their mind. They're like, I bet you can't do that on vinyl, you know. So
You know, me and Drew get that all the time, and him and I talk about it all the time in terms of like the people that have the most to say are the ones that are doing the least.
oh yeah,
You just gotta let them talk, and if it makes them feel better, that's cool, you know.
I like going through what they say, because one of the things for me is it goes back to I wonder what discouraging words a young person is getting that's holding them back. You know,
Right.
I mean, knowing your criticisms is good, but I kind of want to speak. I try to be in the position where I speak up, so that, like, nobody. Well, it's not that nobody feels what I felt during that one festival incident, but to be able to know that that's not how everybody thinks. You know,
Right.
so I like, and also, like, reading through the criticisms is also a good way to humble yourself and basically, just take a consideration that maybe you do need some improvement somewhere. So
I was just at that DJ Collective conference, and Jazzy Jeff was up and speaking, and and he says this all the time, but basically, he's still a student. He's always learning, right? So
yeah,
understanding your criticisms and always growing and always learning. You never know everything.
I
It's
love
always
I,
good
I
to
love that
keep.
he said that, because I love saying and putting myself in the position that I'm always a student, like always absorbing knowledge, always looking for a better or different way or creative way to do something, because there's like this quote that I kind of live by. It's like the tomato that decides he's ripe only follows to rot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
what?
so always be the tomato that's growing.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I like that. So how has the YouTube channel evolved since that time? Right. So you start off with this video. Did you have in mind kind of a path at all, or has it's always changing and growing? What were like some of your first early struggles? I know it's a lot of questions, but trying
No,
to
for
let
sure.
you go from there.
So for the longest time, I was just using my YouTube channel since 2009 as just a place where I put my event promos, which never really grew the channel. It took maybe I want to say 8 or 9 years to get the first 1,000. I want to say, well, whatever it was like I was not doing anything on it, expecting to grow. And maybe once in a while I would do a funny video or a video catered towards a gear review or just a tutorial, but none of those videos really hit. But once I started getting traction with that first Peter Piper video, I started doing these little tidbits of tips and tricks that maybe nobody has done yet or nobody has talked about, like just little things that uh maybe people I haven't seen people talk about on a CDJ. And eventually I was doing reviews of products of Pioneer DJs because they were sponsoring Hot Import Nights. That's how I actually got in contact with them. And
Real quick to interrupt, can
Mhm.
you explain just like a quick little thing about what Hot Import Nights is?
Oh, Hot Import Nights was one of the original. It's not the original, but one of the original tuner car shows that started back in the mid to late '90s, and it was basically one of the. It was a show that combined street racing and tuner car culture with nightlife, and from my understanding, the current owner is the original owner who was actually a cultural consultant for the original Fast and Furious movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dope.
So I was working for them in recent years, and they pop in different cities, even different countries. I think they did South Africa before the pandemic, and like for a while, I wasn't just touring with them. I was in charge of their creative work, their marketing work, which was their graphic design and their video editing.
And what was kind of the music format that you were playing during that time? Because that's
I'm
an
curious.
interesting, that's super interesting to me. Is basically, people come and check out the cars, and how do you program to that?
Well, for that, I mean, you're at a car show. You're not. People aren't dancing at the car. Well, sometimes they do, but it's just you're basically background music for in between performers who are performing, for like when they're making announcements or they have a showcase or when they do awards at the end. So it it's pretty fun. And then sometimes, like in some cities where I know the local nightlife, if we do the after party, like in Minneapolis, I'll play at the club, and the club is really fun. So
So were you playing a lot of
could-
Ja Rule or like what? Like
yeah,
it's not how
I'm
you
almost
say
thinking you're
car, it's how
playing
you
like.
race the car.
I'm almost thinking you're playing.
oh,
like
you
the
oh you know
old
what gets
school-
some the Tokyo Drift theme song.
Okay.
Yeah, that gets some. And nobody seems to care about the Ja Rule theme song from the original Fast and Furious.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I know I side railed a little bit. So you meet Pioneer at these events, and so then
Yeah,
where does it go from there?
they sponsored 2 years where I was hosting a DJ competition at Hot Import Nights.
And you had you just start. I mean, you're probably already using Pioneer stuff, but basically, everyone has to use their gear.
Yeah, as soon as I heard the sponsorship, I think the HIN folks didn't know that there was that Pioneer Electronics, who makes car audio parts, is a totally separate company from Pioneer DJ, and
Right.
they were like, "Hey, do you think we can do like a car with Pioneer gear in it?" I wrote up a proposal for a DJ competition that we can do in 6 different cities in the United States. Let's try this out. And basically, the winner would win some Pioneer gear, and that's how that relationship started. And they liked my work with Hot Import Nights, and that's how I ended up working directly for Pioneer DJ.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Mhm.
I guess what I would say is how did that kind of evolve into where you're at now? So you start doing testing for them on your YouTube channel, or how does that kind of evolve from the Hot Import Nights into your new relationship with them?
So what happened was 2018, the DJ Expo was coming up, and they said they needed an extra demonstrator, and you know the marketing guys called me up and they were like, "Hey, would you like to work with us as a demonstrator for Pioneer DJ?" And that's how that started. And then after Expo, I was at NAM, and then I started requesting gear to try not review anymore, but to demonstrate on my YouTube channel. Because once I had a relationship with Pioneer, I made it clear that I don't do DJ product reviews because like it would. I don't. I have there's a bias now. So when I
Right.
show Pioneer gear on my channel, it's always, hey, I'm just showing you how this works. I'm not telling you whether to buy it or not to buy it or comparing it with other products. So
I'm not sponsored by Pioneer, but I will say that I have a bias. I think they make a superior product. I
we
like Pioneer
appreciate that.
mixers
Yeah.
and all that.
I 100%
Much
agree.
more. Yeah.
Mhm.
A Pioneer guy too. I prefer Pioneer. I know everybody's crazy on like the S9, but if I'm in the club, I still prefer the 900. It's just I don't. I
Oh,
think,
really?
yeah, it's just the club. I think it personally. I think you get a better sound. It's just also too. I don't know. Maybe it's just the old school in me, but I like the more having the channel options. I like I like that if something breaks, you just switch the channel. Like if your channel's being funny, you just
That's true.
go to
Yeah.
the next one.
Well, I know why I don't disagree with you because I grew, when I was really deep in doing clubs constantly, it was just the 900. Was 800 started out, and then it was the 900 everywhere. It was before pads were even a thing. You just had to hit the, your 1 through 10 or 1 through 9 or whatever 0 for the cue points. So yeah, it did.
Have you guys had
grow.
a chance to? You guys get a chance yet to play on the S11?
When we were in AC and we ran into you there, I was messing with it for just there, but I haven't actually got to play a full night on it yet.
I did a full night.
Yeah.
I did a full night on. I did a Halloween night at Heat Ultra Lounge on it, and it's bad to the bone. That's a dope mixer, and I didn't want to touch anything I didn't understand, but it's a really cool mixer. I like the pads are bigger. Everything about it's a little bit nicer. Using the S9 for as long as I have, having the gain off to the side or up atop was throwing me off throughout the night.
I know because they're linear now, but because it's a longer mixer to accommodate the screen, so it doesn't have the staggered trim and filter.
So what you're saying is it might curve that in between that I'm missing from the S9 to the 900. It might curve a little bit of some of that stuff.
You know what's crazy? The S11's a 4-deck mixer.
Okay.
Right.
It's not a 4-deck mixer like you would use a 900. It's a 4-deck mixer in term. Well, you could if you wanted to, but it has what's called deck move, which can cross like your deck 1 and move it to deck 4, or your deck 2 and move it to deck 3. And it has what's called dual deck. So if you created like an acapella and an instrumental on deck 1 and 2, you can move one of them and then enable dual deck. So now your acapella over the instrumental with one DVS signal will behave like one song. So you're scratching both of those decks simultaneously. So if you are one to create a lot of mashups, live mashups, it's really cool because now you have the mashup you made on one deck and you could still load another song.
Interesting.
So now I have to go buy an S11 is what you're saying.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, one more thing. Come on.
Well, what is your go-to mixer then? Because I will say mine's like the S9. Fuse likes the 900. What's your go-to?
You know what's crazy? Like, so ever since that SB2 video, around that time, I was using an SB2 in all my gigs, like that entry-level controller. To the club, to the music festival, I put that thing to the edge because I was because I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the reaction of, oh, who's this little chump with the toy, you know?
Yeah. Did you bring it in the original box? Because that would get me over the top. Like, oh dude, stop. Who is dude rolling in with the original box? Right? Because we used to do a big club and we would have we would let new guys open from 9 to 10, right? So before the club opened up, and they would roll in with the original box with their entire family, and every time we're like, oh, this is gonna be bad. But if you did that, I think that would I would be in heaven. That'd be amazing.
You know what? Maybe I should do that with the SB3 because I still take to this day with CDJs at my house. I take it to the club. Well, I don't gig as much as before, but I still use my SB3 because the one thing about Iowa, it's bring your own gear in 90% of the places.
Right.
And if there is gear there, with the exception of this one club in downtown Des Moines, you don't know what like the condition of the gear that you're using. In fact, the thing I loved about the SB3, I was traveling with it with hot import nights. Like I'd put it on the bottom of a suitcase and then take it around with me because I knew it was going to work no matter what. And
are you hooking it up to an external mixer? Or okay, so you bring another mixer as well, or they have to have that provided at the club. I guess most clubs, if they have a sound system, have some type of mixing board, right?
If I'm bringing it to a club where it's just XLR only, this one place called Koa, you just plug in your XLR. I will bring an external mixer, either my Mackie, my little Mackie Pro FX6, or I'll bring a small DJ mixer that has XLR out. But
Okay.
yeah, because the thing is, yeah, the entry level controllers, they have low signal output, so
Right.
you need to boost that.
Right.
All right. Do you want to switch directions for a second and come back? Because we have a lot of gear questions we want to ask.
No,
too.
for sure.
But I want to get into this top 5 Serato songs. We've been asking everybody, and it's always great seeing what, like Phrase 2 weeks ago, one of his top songs was a country song because he does a country night. So it was pretty funny to talk with him about that. So we would love to hear your top 5 Serato played.
Is
I
it
would
Record
not-
Box or Serato?
I use both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
but
curious
my
about
Serato's
that
my
'cause-
master. I transfer everything from Serato to Record Box using Record Buddy. So Serato's like my Record Box is secondary to Serato because Serato is where I organize everything and then move it over.
Okay.
And tell all of our listeners you don't use iTunes, right?
No, I don't use iTunes at all. And the reason why I don't use iTunes is because iTunes is at no obligation to work for DJ software. So it breaks my heart when I hear people go, "Hey, Apple kind of changed this. I can't get my iTunes to work on my Serato." I'm like,
I just
using
wanted to
iTunes.
say that. That's why I say that is because every time someone comes to me too, I say, "Stop using iTunes." There's no reason for it anymore. We all they integrated it so that you could basically switch over easily from all of our collections that we had to using Serato. It came before it. It made sense
Yeah.
because we were using it then. Now it's no longer necessary. But
Yeah, and
anyways.
if you're a DJ and you're still using iTunes, I think that at some point you got to bite the bullet, sit down, and redo the library, not using iTunes. It's just a
You mean
thing.
you mean they have to just drag and drop it from their iTunes to their Serato?
Yeah, I mean,
And-
but
and
more
and
people
turn off read iTunes and that's it. Wait, that's that hard?
Yeah, but people, it's crazy. People are still doing it, and they don't realize, But
and not to
anyway,
play devil's advocate, but there is an argument to use iTunes, and that's if you're using multiple DJ software. It's the one library that opens on all of them. And I know Virtual DJ reads Serato and Rekordbox, but with iTunes, like for the longest time, it was the one universal playlist that can work on multiple DJ software.
I don't disagree with you. I
most
actually
DJs
agree.
aren't using multiple DJ software. They're either using
That's true.
Serato or they're using Rekordbox. And
Actually,
you might be
wedding DJs switch with Serato and Virtual DJ, from what I see.
Well, I've been trying to start integrating the DJ app because of the algorithm and all that stuff.
Which is very iTunes based.
Exactly why now I'm eating my own words because I'm going, nah, damn it, I gotta start learning iTunes. But I hate iTunes,
and I love algorithm. Like that software is just so.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's there's certain things about it where their scratching quality with HID mode just sounds so like it sounds so non-digital, and like the stem separation along with Virtual DJ, but just stem separation, real-time stem separation is so awesome to do live.
Well, I love that A-Track basically comes out with a mixer with Rain. That's a Serato-based mixer. And then the week after that mixer's released, he's just putting out constant videos of him using the DJ app, the algorithm DJ app. It's getting there to where you can almost DJ with just an iPad now with that software. And that's why I've wanted to start integrating and learning it a little bit more.
Yeah, a lot of those features like stem separation and the gesture control on the iPad, you can do that with just a regular iPad Air.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like an iPad Pro, and the iPad works with Algorithm DJ when you use it with, I think, entry level. Basically, I would guess bus powered controllers. I don't know the whole list of stuff, but your Flex 6s, your SB3s, your 400s, you can use it with the iPad or the iPhone with Algorithm.
Yeah, I saw Laid Back Luke just did a video where he's using an iPhone with that software to do some stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. Sorry to sidetrack, but I
No, you're good.
just was curious on that. So yeah, give us your top 5 Serato songs.
Well, here's the thing. I might have had a top 5 when I used to play open format, but I think now that I'm playing mainly like house music and electronic music gigs, and I play very seldomly now because I'm busy with content, I can't say I have a top 5. And I can't even say I have a top 5 songs because I don't really listen to music daily. Yeah,
I think most of us
it's a
DJs
weird quality that I have, but the reason is because as much as I love music, it makes me non-productive if I'm leisurely listening to it.
I don't disagree with you. How about give us top 5 songs you like? How about that?
Yeah. Whatever is in your Serato, just whatever.
Something that you think you might have played.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. I'm probably one of the worst people when it comes to like remembering titles and artists.
All right, we'll take it. I like the conversation on the DJ app anyways, so it's all good.
So here's the thing. I'm one of those. Well, I wouldn't say one of those. I am a person who I think I like the gear, the tech, and the performing with music probably more than the collecting and listening to music.
I can appreciate it. Well,
yeah, that's and I'm so terrible with artists, and like when people make a request, 90% of the time I don't have it. So yeah,
I'm getting more and more like that. Well, then I think this is a perfect segue into tech you love right now. And, you know, me and Fuse, something that we've talked about is that the Insta360 camera, that's something both of us use. We love. What's tech you love right now? It could be studio tech. It could be stuff in your DJ setup. What's just tech you love right now?
Well, I just got the Sony ZV-1. Actually, it's right here in the frame. For being a $700 camera, the quality, the crispness of it, from like it really changed how my front A-roll looks in my videos. And it did it compared to a camera that was like twice its price when I bought it. And I just love the fact that it's a vlogger specific camera that is accessible to like I would say is accessible at entry level prices.
So when that came out, I did a deep dive on that and watched way too many YouTube videos. So you can use the exact same lenses as all of the A7 A7S3, right? You could use the same lenses. There's
I think that's
that.
I think that's
that
the
just
ZV-10.
came out after that. That's right. Okay.
I got my ZV-1 the day before they announced the ZV-E10.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was. Yeah. So, but I didn't regret it because it's the compactness that you can. Even though the ZV-E10 is the better camera and you can switch the lenses,
right?
It's the compactness of what it can do for such a small little point and shoot. You know.
Right. And what is amazing about it is it has that product view, right? So you could get it. Basically, it automatically switches.
If you have it on, if you put a product right here, you see how it's blurry in my camera right now. It would. There's a setting where it could automatically quickly refocus to whatever you hold up on the screen.
So that's your main YouTube camera that you're using is the ZV-1?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Do you have to use a capture card with it?
I record straight to the ZV-1, One of the weaknesses of it is it overheats, and when you're recording 4K at 100 megabits per second, I discovered that because when it's cold in my basement right now, so I get about 25 to 30 minutes before it overheats. In the summer, I'll get like 15. So that's one of the weaknesses with recording straight to the card. I do use a capture card if I'm streaming with it.
So like right now, you're using it through a capture card.
Yeah, right now I'm using my old Canon 80D, and it's through a capture card I got on Amazon. And it's one of those $10 capture. Actually, no, I take that back. I didn't use the $10 capture card today. I'm using the A10 Mini today.
Is it?
Oh, okay.
Do you use? Hold on, I'm trying to unplug something without unplugging everything. Is it just one of those simple USB to HDMI?
Yeah, yeah, it's one of these. Let's.
And then, so do you run it through a software, or what do you do when you use that?
Well, it's here on StreamYards. I'm directly capturing from the card, so it's from card direct to StreamYard. Sometimes if I want color grading, I run it through OBS, do all my adjustments, and then use OBS virtual camera to output, which I only do that if I'm doing multicam when I'm doing a product demo. So that way I can, crop, adjust things, and put them into view, especially if I have an overhead and I want to show the Serato screen at the same time. That's when I would use OBS. But if I'm just, doing a conference or I'm on a podcast, I just go direct from capture card to the platform.
Do you have to install anything for the capture card to work?
Mm-mm.
Nope. So
on the Mac, no, I don't. I can't. I don't know what it's like on Windows because I never tried this on my PC.
Gotcha. And so that is using the Sony ZV-1, or you're using your Canon right now?
Right now, I'm using my Canon 80D, and normally I would be using this capture card, but I plugged it into the A10 Mini instead, only because I was hoping to use the audio input on the A10 Mini to do some processing, but it was really noisy, so I didn't end up doing that. Otherwise, I would just have been using this $10 capture card I got from Amazon, which I have like 5 of. So,
Explain to our listeners real quick, because I barely know what the A10 Mini is, and I'm positive they have no clue. So explain exactly what that thing is and what it does.
So the A10 Mini is an
It's
HDMI.
ATEM, by the way.
Yep.
ATEM Mini, right?
Yeah, it's by Blackmagic Design, and basically in broadcast video production, you see that those big boards with the big slider knobs so that they can switch between the cameras. Well, the A10 Mini, or the series of A10 Minis, is basically like a home broadcast version of that's used for streaming, and it allows you to switch between multiple cameras because it has like, what is it, four different HDMI inputs. And it's not just a switcher. It's basically a broadcast production tool where you can do a little bit of processing, whether it's audio or video in it. And you can even mix audio into it. So it's a really, really tight little piece. In fact, I believe Mojack said in 2020 it was DJ Product of the Year for him,
Right.
And
Yeah,
I used to be that guy who I made a video saying you don't need an A10 Mini, where I took a USB hub, put a bunch of these cards, and I'm like, hey, I don't need an A10 Mini, I got this.
I watched
But
that
once I start using the A10 Mini, which I need to do a video on because I think it's a little unfair that I switched to the A10 Mini and I have that video up. But once I switched to the A10 Mini, I was like, oh, I understand now. The capture quality is different. It's like it's less grainy. Like right now, it looks like if I was using this, you would see a little bit of imperfection on the screen.
When we first started streaming, I had one of those, and I just felt that that thing would get really hot. The cheap one, it would get really hot, and for me at least, it gets really hot, and it was starting to delay. the delay was bad on mine, at least for me. So, I never, I was always curious about that thing, but I just never made the jump. So, all right. So you got those two.
Splitting the USB would, like not trying to put too many on one card, and then kind of spreading like I have like 2 hubs, which I spread to each USB input on my MacBook Pro. Then that kind of got rid of a lot of the delay. But then I'm also using a MacBook Pro, so.
What do you go in from? So the cameras go into the A10 Mini, and then the A10 Mini goes into the computer. How does that hook up?
So I use a hybrid of using these capture cards with the A10 Mini, and the reason why I do that is because the A10 Mini that I have only gives the computer one feed. It doesn't split every HDMI input into multiple feeds that you can separately access on OBS.
Gotcha.
So in order to separately access certain cameras, I still have to use a USB hub with a capture card. So I have my front camera, basically any of my A-roll on my A10 Mini, but what I have separate that's on individual capture cards is my Serato screen, basically the computer that I'm using Serato on that has an HDMI out going directly to a capture card. And my overhead is on its own capture card. I rarely will ever put those on the ATEM, only because the only thing I use on the ATEM is switching my front camera to maybe my side angle camera. Like anything that's utility based, I give them their own capture card. But I think that could all be fixed with a ATEM mini, with one of the ATEM mini versions that have individual HDMI inputs going into the computer.
Gotcha. So, okay, question. So Drew and I are doing this podcast, right? And as you can see, your screen, anybody who's watching can see that. Look how great his looks, and then look how bad Drew and I's looks, right? So if you were going to recommend right now to Drew and I what camera to buy, what camera would you tell us to buy to stream with this podcast? I only asked two because I think a lot of listeners would love to know the answer to this question.
Don't even start with the camera. Start with lighting.
Okay.
Yeah, start with really good lighting. Right now I'm using a 660 LED panel from Newer with a softbox on it. And good lighting can make your webcam look great. In fact, the ZV-1 is not a good camera for low lighting. Like when you turn up that ISO, you get more grain, and the same goes for webcams. Good lighting will make your iPhone look, well, iPhones have great cameras now, but I was using an iPhone 6 in my original stream, and the way to make it look good is good lighting. Because basically when you have good lighting, you can lower the gain, the ISO on it, and then basically the blacks, you won't see the grain in because you're basically crushing all that grain, and that's basically the secret to
I use two little cheap lights here, and I can turn them off real quick so you can see. Just two little cheap lights, so when I turn them on, I feel like night and day difference of just, But okay,
so it starts with good lighting. So
starts with good lighting. Okay, so but if you were to recommend a camera as well, what would you think? And if you were just gonna say like a good camera that's gonna work well, and obviously like if you're spending the money, and if you're gonna spend $700, you might as well spend $1,000 or something, whatever, If you were just
it's definitely the ZV-1.
Okay.
in that price. If your budget is $300-$400, I would I can't remember the model or even the brand, but there was some good webcams out that came out. I forgot the name. But if you have the budget for $700, definitely the ZV-1 with a capture card. That would be great for streaming. Basically that's the way I have this set up right now. It's just my 80D that I repurpose as my over-the-top webcam. So the thing that makes the difference is the depth of field. It's the fact that your background's blurred, it gives it that professional quality feel.
So we're just going to be letting everyone know that you're going to be doing an audit on all of our video stuff coming up soon. We will look a lot better here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still fascinated by tech because you are a tech king to me. What else? You got those two? Is there anything else you want to mention?
It's so funny because like you guys say that, and I'm one of the people who like struggle with smartphones and remote controls. and I can't fix my own car. So
well, I'll tell you, I got the iPhone 13, and the camera is almost too good on the low light because I'll shoot some video and I'll send it to people. And they're like, "Why is it so bright in there?" I go, "It's so dark. If I could send you a real picture without this, it's so pitch dark in here." But the iPhone opens it up so much that it's almost making some of my my videos for like my weddings, just a little quick reels or clips that I do. It's making it look a little too bright, So I don't know.
You could get an app with more manual control. Like one.
Yeah, I probably need to do that.
Yeah, because that's how I filmed my engagement video when I handed it off to my friend. I was using an app called. I have an iPhone 12 Pro, and I used an app called Movie Pro. And the thing about this app, it had a super active. What do you call? Shoot, what? It's like slipping my brain. Steady shot. So it was super like smooth, and that's why even though I handed it to my friend, it didn't look unprofessional, and I was able to color grade it. It was 4K, so which by the way, if you don't want to spend on a camera, your iPhone using one little $10 or $20 OBS app, you can use your phone as your camera for when you're doing podcasts like this. So it'll look better than any webcam. So.
Do you know the name of the? Do you know the name of the app for the to do that?
Yeah, hang on. You need what's called the Clean Feed app, which basically mirrors your phone camera without any, anything on the display. And you also need the OBS camera app. One of those two, I think you have to pay for, or both of them, but it's not much. It's cheaper than a webcam, I'll tell you that.
I think the OBS camera app's like $15.
Okay.
Or 15 bucks. Any last tech you want to leave us with? Those were some great tips.
Oh, wow. Like whenever somebody asks me this question, it's like, I spent my whole day thinking about something, and then now when I'm asked about it, it's like gone.
Right. You need to just start an Amazon tech page. I'm throwing that at you right there.
I know. I should. And the thing is they're like tech moves so fast that something that you talk about can be like irrelevant tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. But like, so let me ask you guys: have you guys checked out any of the new gear from Pioneer DJ recently? Because I know we released the XDJ RX3 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw it at the Collective. It's
go for it.
I was gonna say it's dope. The platters are a little too small for me, and not that I'm doing any wikis or anything dope on it. I guess I'm just comfortable. I still love the SRT for that, and I own two S9s, so it's hard for me to spend the money, even though I really want the S11. And I don't know. I'm crossing my fingers. Pioneer has something down the road for coming out with I don't know what I'm looking for, but just maybe a 2-channel SRT or something along those lines.
I'll tell you what I'm looking for, and I know what it is. I would love to see Pioneer put out something that is, kind of like basically the Rain 12s, something like that. But embraces
that.
Yeah, that's it. If they could find a way to do that and embrace it in a controller as well, I think that there would be a line of DJs to go buy that controller.
Even with just 10-inch platters, 9-inch platters. I mean, or like the Rain 1, I guess. I like the paddles. That would be one thing that I would love to see on something, as some kind of the FX paddles. I actually don't take advantage of the effects on the SRT at all, because just traveling,
it's DJM style, like DJM 900 style. Yeah.
Quick, as being a travel DJ or just going, I'm usually just thrown at what kind of gear that I could use. And so I just took effects out of my mixing style 100%. I don't use them at all because I never know what mixer I'm going to have, and I can't have that crutch. So
that's kind of what I was going to say too.
Yeah. Not that I want to start learning that crutch, but I would love to have something like that's a little bit more in line with the same stuff.
The thing about the effects is, once you like when you look at a controller that has the 3 effects on each deck on the top, and then you look at the DJM, which is just 1 effect per channel, and then you have the battle mixers that have the paddle effects. The way that helps me jump around between the 3 types is to recognize what makes them the same. They all have an arming button. They all have a level button. And more or less, echo, reverb, flanger, phaser, they behave similarly whether you're using software or hardware. And once you understand, it's a level knob that you can turn on and off, wet, dry, and there's an arming knob that you can turn it off quickly. It's like they all seem to be similar after that. So
I guess why I get confused, and maybe it's just more lack of trying, is the fact that it jumps from the Serato to the Pioneer effects, right? So on a controller, like I had to use this past weekend, was an SX2. I have to now try and get the Serato effects to match what I know the Pioneer one will do without me. The Pioneer one, I got them to work. I know exactly what they can do without really trying, but the Serato ones, I feel like I got to spend more time on. It's really just lack of trying.
On the S11 and the S7, you can actually combine your hardware effects, which you can only layer 1 at a time, with your Serato effects, which let you layer up to 6, because there's 6 inside the software. So if you wanted to go back and forth, you could do that on the S11. If you prefer a Serato effect over the hardware effects, you could do that as well. And same goes for Rekordbox when you're using the S11 or the S7.
The other thing for me is one of the things I noticed when I switched from like an 800 to a 900, and like that is the effects seem to kick in a little different on the mixer. So that's kind of when I kind of was like, all right, I need to stop relying so much on the effects. But also for me, when I'm playing, and Drew can probably say this too, like I'm not using so many effects because I just feel like people don't care. There's nothing that I'm doing where I feel like I need to loop or echo like Nicki Minaj super bass to where to make it better. But for somebody like you who now is doing a lot more original or these taking these gigs where you're being more of an artist versus a DJ in a sense, I think that is a complete game changer.
It depends, because I don't layer effects myself in my I think my most common go-to layering is doing an echo and then turning up the filter, filter and echo. And I think a lot of people do that. Where I see people really layering effects are techno DJs who love to bloop and bleep, little elements. And I think that's where really, really, especially when you're on a 3/4 echo, to give it some syncopation. I think that those are the folks who probably really get into the whole layering of effects, while most of us are cool with 1 beat effect, 1 color effect, and maybe that's it.
For sure.
It's about all I use. I guess so. To answer your question, SRT, I would need an S11 apparently after this interview.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those are the only two things that I'm currently using. I will say, even though I love Pioneer, I did not buy the SP3. I bought the Reloop Ready. I like the pads on it, so I've been traveling with that as a backup. Is there anything Pioneer wise we need to be looking at? Anything else, I guess, towards their brand? That
Okay,
you love.
I got one, and our friend Warren will love this one. Related tracks on Rekordbox.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. And Warren, I guess I thought always used Tractor, but since I know he doesn't listen to this, we'll talk about him using Rekordbox because we just like to tease him. He always tells me about that, and maybe you could hype that up because that is a really dope feature that I hate that Serato doesn't have. It's
basically an assistant that it's not. I wouldn't even say it's an algorithm. It's just a set of parameters where, based on what you play, it's great for open format DJs because if let's just say you have a brain fart, you can't think of what next to play, it can easily make a suggestion based on BPM if you put that as a parameter, or genre if you tag all your genres properly, or the biggest thing is it could suggest a track based on what you often play with the current track playing. And
That's crazy.
The related tracks, it's an assistant. And I know when I did my video showing that, some people are like, oh, so it's DJing for you and it's picking your songs. Like, no, it's not picking your songs because you're still making the decision if you're going to follow this list of suggestions. But
Right.
it might help you. Who knows? Maybe you don't play any of them. Maybe it'll like inspire you. You're like, oh, you know what I didn't play? Though I can see what I normally play. You know, that's what makes it really, really powerful. So
Do you ever because you go back and forth with it with Record Buddy, does it save any of that kind of information in Serato? I don't understand how that works.
my played tracks, no, it doesn't. And the thing is I don't use related tracks based on what I've played. Actually, no,
Right.
I can't say this. I take my Serato and I transfer it over to Record Buddy to Rekordbox cleanly every time. Like every time I do that transfer, I wipe out my Rekordbox and put a new transfer in of my database. So my plays are always 0. But if I've been using Rekordbox for maybe 3 or 4 gigs and I haven't done that transfer,
Right.
I look inside related tracks just to see, oh, what did I play with this last time?
Right.
What's good with this, So
I know guys that could probably use related tracks when it's like 2 a.m. at the club and you're 10 shots deep. I think that would be a very helpful thing.
It's funny because 10 shots deep, my decision making is a lot less hesitant.
They're like, this sounds great. This is a great idea.
But I don't know about no 10 shots though. Like like I'm known for 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot snore. So
1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor.
Yeah.
I saw that shirt one time. I love that, dude. Fuse,
now I'm gonna start getting my next gig. It's gonna be like, hey, I heard you like shots.
So one last thing we want to ask you before we wrap up, and I kind of really liked the way you started this, and with telling us the story about the, how you're not even a DJ, how that kind of came about. Because I feel that a lot. It's just like, I don't want to be that guy, and I love that. And so if you were to give a piece of advice to a young DJ listening, that you think would help your career as a young DJ, what would it be that you would tell them?
Follow the advice of the people that have the results that you're looking for. That way you can easily qualify or disqualify good and bad advice.
That is a great, simple answer.
Because, like you said earlier, you're like, a lot of these people with these comments and critiques that have the most to say usually have nothing to show for it. Like they don't have much going on for them, and maybe that's why they're angry, you know. So, but those people are gonna sometimes be the loudest people to tell you to do a certain way, to be a certain way, and this has a lot to do with also having defining in the beginning what you want to do. You know, like for example, if you want to be a touring festival artist, common sense advice, start making music. But you're not going to be taking playlist advice from your buddy who does weddings, that it just doesn't make sense. So defining what you want to do first is important, because I know some people get into it. I don't know what I want to be. I just know I want to be a DJ. And usually those are the people that are like, oh, I just want to be in front of the crowd and I like this intention and that, this and that. But when people are in it for either the art or even for business, they have, it's very defined what they want to do. So once that's defined, follow the advice of people that have the results you're looking for. So that way you know how to qualify good advice from bad advice.
I think that is great.
I love that. I love that so much. I always tell DJs, like I tell them if they want exactly what you just said, but I've realized later in the game that I just love being a DJ. I don't necessarily want to make my own stuff. I like just being a DJ and playing other people's stuff. To me, that's exactly what I know I'm good at, and it's where I want to. That's where I'm happy I've landed. So it's great advice.
I think it's awesome that there's like the term DJ. It's so. I know that there's this notion that some DJs feel where they're like, my DJing's the right way to DJ. But I think it's beautiful that there's so many. It's like a whole spectrum of maybe like people who just like playing music, and then people who want to grow their business as a mobile artist, or people who are into the production, the staging production, the lights, the DMX lighting. Like there's so many different kinds, and then there's countries that don't really have mobile DJs. And
Right.
there's I find it so fascinating that it's so diverse. And at the same time, it could get toxic too, with all the different people who aren't comfortable with the differences. But I think it's so awesome that it's so diverse, because it's like under this one umbrella of disc jockey, there's all these things you could do,
I just got back from the DJ Collective, and even just talking with people that are there, the performance levels are so drastically different. Just the mixing styles. One guy, Jazzy Jeff, was doing some Wu-Tang originals mixed in with some other stuff. And I just love seeing just the diversiveness and just talking with other people that are 10 times more business oriented than I'll ever be. I do find that, the community is thriving. So everything that you're saying, find who you look up to and, kind of aim it after that and take their advice is awesome advice.
No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think that's been great. And there's been a lot of great advice and things talked about today. And once again, we just want to say thank you for coming on and
I appreciate you guys for bringing me on.
Chatting.
Oh.
And so let everybody know where they can find you, your social medias, YouTube channel, all that info.
So it's youtube.com/PrionJoni. It's spelled PRIYONJONI. That's basically my main channel for the majority of my content. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so maybe Twitch as well. So I'll be there. And next, is it cool if I plug where I'm playing next, since I do it so early now?
Plug away. This is going live next Tuesday from today.
Oh yeah, it'll be before. So next Tuesday is the 30th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so December 3rd, I'm going to be at Platform in downtown Des Moines. It's the one electronic music club dedicated electronic music club in Iowa, and it's the one place in I would say Des Moines, because I don't want to misquote it if it's not a fact, but it's the one place in Des Moines with CDJ 3000, 4 CDJ 3000s installed. So
wow, it's awesome.
Yeah.
What mix are you using with that?
I'm going to use the V10. The owner of the club has a V10, and I'm going to use the V10 so I can have all 4 decks with my guitar on a 5th channel.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm.
Sorry, I know we're ending, but the first guy I ever saw do kind of what you're doing was Joaquin Gerard. I opened up for him, and he brought out his keytar and was rocking out, and it was kind of a cool thing. So, and also
It's fun.
I saw
It's really fun. If here's another piece of advice: if you're a DJ and you play a musical instrument, find a way you can include it, because the one thing about that is you kind of have an advantage on your scene locally, because not everybody would be willing to. Well, I wouldn't say willing, but not everybody might think to do that. And if you're the first, it's always better. It's always more advantageous to be the first than to try to be the best, because when you're the best, somebody else who's better could take that away.
or even just being the first, people remember that. I played with a sax player recently, and the amount of leads I've gotten from that one, it was a 2-hour event, has been nuts. Just something different. People love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's also another way to engage with your audience, because if you're wireless, you can't take your DJ gear and walk into the dance floor, but you can with an instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've been absolutely incredible. Everybody go check out his channel if you're not already doing it.
Appreciate it.
Part of the DMS family. You can always find him up on our blog, Front and Center. Make sure you're watching his videos. This man crushes all his content. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. Really appreciate it and had fun with you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. We will be calling you for some camera. And
oh no,
lighting
for
advice.
sure. Hit me up anytime. Hit me up anytime. You guys have, well, Drew, you have my number now, so.
Yes, I appreciate it, dude. You're the man. Well, we look forward to hanging out soon. Thanks again.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So
That was awesome.
That was
He's
pre-owned Joni for everybody. Once again, like Drew said, you can hear him on or see his videos featured on the DMS blog. If you go on DMS a lot, he's got one about once a week or once every other week that ends up on the featured on the front page of the blog, and you can check it out. He's got a lot of different valuable just different things he's always doing with tutorials, or I watched one of his videos recently. It was showing like how James Hype mixes a lot of his tracks, and I just thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, I didn't realize what he was doing was that simple, so I thought it was pretty neat.
and if you're a pioneer head like me and Fuse, then all of his tech stuff is really good. Yeah, he knows his stuff, that's for sure. He came to a DMS retreat and was teaching, or at least showing all of us, how he scratches on an SB3 with just the pitch slider. And I think all of us were gathered around just geeking out on that.
One of the things I wanted to say is we're still getting conga line challenge videos, and I think it's hilarious that you guys are still tagging us in those videos. But with this episode, when this episode comes out next week, it'll be just after Thanksgiving, and we're gonna have to think of a Christmas one. I mean, is it just gonna be as basic as tagging us every time you play the Mariah Carey? I don't know. What do you think, Drew?
I don't know, but let's keep the conga line challenges coming. We just got a new one from my homie Steve Dubb. Shout out to Steve Dubb. It's keep them coming. We love the conga line challenge. It still makes me laugh. Honestly, I think it's the funniest thing. And send us what you think the next challenge should be. We're all up. We're all ears for whatever you think it could be. I, for one, would love to have, what's the new Christmas song that we're not playing? The new Mariah Carey one. That can't be the only song for the next 10 years. So let's come up with that new song together at some point. That doesn't need to be part of the challenge, but I'd love to come up with that new Christmas song.
Did you want to talk about anything, your gigs this week? Anything out of the ordinary that happened or anything like that?
Oh man, I am happy to be alive. It has been a whirlwind of last week and a half. I did three weddings, all back to back to back. Then, with no sleep, jumped on a plane. Was at the DJ Collective for 5 days. Flew on another plane to which DJ Collective was in Arizona. Then flew on a plane to Florida. Drove to Tallahassee. Did an event. Flew back. I feel like I got ran over by a truck. I'm happy everything's going. We got tons and tons of stuff to talk about DJ Collective. Just to once I could wrap my head around it, they did announce that the next one is going to be hosted in Nashville. So all you DJs out there, they are opening it up to 200 people this year. It's going to be amazing. The amount of networking and the amount of just content I got was incredible. The parties were sick. We had the first night was Jazzy Jeff, Caper, and ADMC. Second night, DMS's own Scooter and the homie Digital Dave played. And out of nowhere, Fat Man Scoop came, did a big old thing right in the middle of the set. So it was definitely a very memorable trip. Highly recommend everyone look into it. If you're not following them already, look into the DJ Collective official.com. You can find all the videos and recaps and stuff like that. So yeah, Fuse, how about you? How was your weekend?
It was pretty standard. I did the bar on Friday. I did the club on Saturday. And I was thinking, I was playing a song on Saturday, and I was like, oh, man, we got to talk about the song that I played. And I'm trying to look through my Serato history right now to find it, because I was like, oh, this isn't one that I play all the time, and it went off. I just scrolled through one that I've been playing recently that I played at the club on Saturday, which I know I haven't played in a while, was Rihanna Run This Town. And it worked. I have a little personal edit I made that starts in with it just after the intro, it comes in with the and like everybody starts singing along. And don't you guys go out there stealing my routine, but I'll tell you what I do. And it's an old routine that I used to do. And I come out of playing Umbrella, which is another Rihanna song. So she's like, Umbrella, Ella, Ella, A. And then it goes into A. And it's pretty cool. It gets a little reaction. But that's one. That's not the one I was thinking of. There's another one in here. I'm trying to find it.
While you're looking for that, I'll say my wedding. I was in a down south hip hop set, which was the wedding was in Tallahassee. So down south hip hop was crushing. The Laffy Taffies, the Lean With It, Rock With It, all the old stuff like that. Swag surfing. But someone came up and was like, hey, play Grills. I haven't played Grills. In fact, the fact that I even had it was kind of tripping, but and Grills crushed.
Dude,
Grills was big.
I've been playing Girls at the Bar. It's not really a song for the club that I play, but at the bar, it does crush. People sing along. I would even like put that in I have a folder that I keep. It just says like bar sing-alongs, that if I'm like kind of scrolling and I'm like not really finding something I want, I'll just resort to that folder. And that's one that I keep in there just because it has been working lately.
I've always found it to be a B-side Nelly track. So the fact that I got that request was interesting.
The one that I was thinking of that I played at the club, which I normally don't play, is Black Eyed Peas, I'm a Bee. And it just comes in, it goes dun, 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 and it crushed. I was like, this is wild. I mean, that whole album had basically at that moment, I think almost every song on that album was a single. Yeah, I just didn't expect it, but it totally makes sense. It's from that era that we've been talking about, the throwbacks that are like big right now, that 2010 kind of era. But that's one that another one. Simo and I were texting back and forth recently. Is Ludacris How Low? That one's been crushing again for me. So
I need to re-up that because I think I have probably a hook only edit of that. I need to
Yeah.
re-go too. But something I integrated into, I did a little opening video set at the DJ Collective, and something I used was Kanye West Power as kind of the hype song. That crushed. It was actually your edit. It's where it just has the chants at the
Oh
beginning.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's yeah, it was good. I want to start playing that a lot more. That was a big one.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that like stuck out from this weekend. Oh, I played All the Way Turned Up. That was another one that I played that I haven't played in a while. All the Way Turned
great one.
Up. You know,
Yeah.
that one got they were hype about it too. So I'm trying to think of anything else. I keep playing the Blinding Lights into the Kid Leroy Stay.
Okay.
That one, those two have been working. I've been working great together. They're actually the same key too. So
I just did my own little custom transition for that. I'll have to drop that to you.
oh, is it stay? Like stay?
No, it's actually the transition for Blinding Lights. Someone else had done a transition that I was starting to play it all the time because the song's such an interesting song to mix into. At 85, there's not a lot around it besides stay. It's kind of hard to get into the track, right? Because it's double times. So I found this transition, and it went into 128, but it just didn't go fast enough. It made everybody sad. They would stop and kind of go, I get what you're doing, but then they would cry, and then they would come in and they'd be happy again. So finally I made one that's good.
I would love to hear from any other listeners too, like if there's any hip hop in the, I don't know, like 70 to 80 BPM range that you think is like would consider like a throwback that you think is crushing again, like some of those songs, what those are to you right now, or what's working for you guys out there. Because you know, while we're sitting here spitballing, you know, what's been working for us, we love hearing for other people too what's been working. We like sharing some info, but we hope to get some info back too as well.
Leave it on the yellow line.
Yeah, hit us on that YOLO line, 562-246 YOLO. But
well, we appreciate everybody that's been listening. We got a ton of feedback from all the DJ Collective people. We got much more dope stuff to come. So keep tuning in, and thanks everybody. I don't have anything else. You got anything else, Fuse?
No, I think that's it for today. So once again, if you guys are listening on iTunes or Apple Podcast, please subscribe, hit us with a review on there. Write a review would be great. All that's going to help grow the show. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you're following us and you got the downloads turned on. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit us with a subscribe. Also subscribe today to Pre-Owned Joni's channel. He'll appreciate it too. Drop us a comment on the videos. Hit us with a like. We appreciate it. That's pretty much it. Make the hotline bling, and we'll be happy. We'll play some voicemails from you guys, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Peace.